Today what we're doing is we are making some Soffrito. Now Soffrito is basically it's a flavor base. It's the Italian version of this flavor base. What we're putting in here is about, in this case we have a 2-to-1 ratio of everything. So we got 2 pounds of onions, 1 pound of carrots, and 1 pound of celery. This is essentially the same as the French mirepoix. Although in French that refers to just the ingredients, whether they're cooked or not. This is cooked, and we're going to be cooking it in olive oil. Another difference from mirepoix, they would usually cook it in, since it's France, cook it in butter, and not cook it quite as dark, just more like a softened, not caramelized as much as we might do it here. So we also have some salt. We have some wine for the chef. We have a pan here with already has about a 1/4 cup of olive oil in it. We'll be adding some more in a little bit. And since we got a lot of ingredients here, I mean, you could always chop these up with a knife, but since we got a lot of ingredients here, I'm going to go ahead and use the food processor instead to make this go a lot faster and easier. So we'll just start with the celery. This, but you just want it to be nicely chopped up, small little granules, which is perfect there for the salad. Let's see my spatula. And put this first layer on here. Out. And put in the maybe half a tablespoon of salt. Start on that layer.
A half a tablespoon?
What?
A half a tablespoon?
Roughly, yes.
Okay.
So obviously you want to keep in mind the amount of salt and oil that's in the base as far as adjusting your recipe goes, because there's already going to be some fat, some salt in there. You definitely want the salt because it helps everything caramelize. It helps pull moisture out of the vegetables, helps it cook, helps the flavor. And we'll do some carrots next. Put that in here. Likewise, nice, mostly small, mostly uniform chunks, but it's good enough for what we're doing here. Put this here again.
And how much salt are you adding
Probably
now?
about another half tablespoon here.
Okay.
And we'll see it once we get it all mixed up if it seems like it needs more. And we're going to give another frozen carrot to our second assistant over here, so he shuts up. Here you go, Mookie. A carrot. No, he just wants pets. onion. Fun part so we can make our eyes burn. Here. Alright, so we've got some nicely chopped up onion in there. Not only about half of it so far.
Could you tell us how much of the different ingredients you had to start with?
Oh, I think I did at the beginning, but it was it's basically you have the ratio of 2 to 1, you know, basically 2 parts of onion and 1 part of all the others. So in this case, it was 2 pounds of onion and then 1 pound of celery and 1 pound of carrot.
Okay.
Now that we have my eyes burning and the rest of the onion in there. And just putting in some more salt, maybe at least another tablespoon here on top. And there's already a 1/4 cup of oil, I think I said, in the bottom. And add about another 1/4 cup or so to mix in with this. Dry, we might need to add some more later, but we'll see. And stick this on about medium flame, just about medium, you know, whether it's electric or gas, good on medium. And I'm just going to get it all mixed up in here. Now, like Soffrito in Italian basically means fried. It's implying in this case a slow frying. And we're going to let this cook down and reduce quite a bit and get it at least lightly caramelized in here. And then when it comes out, it's going to look something more like this. So with making a big batch like this, you know, you can, the whole idea is you can freeze it in like 1/2 cup, 1 cup, whatever increments, and then just take this, throw it into the stew, whatever soup, whatever you're making, and it's all ready to go, as opposed to having to make it, you know, 3 carrots and 2 celeries and blah, blah, blah at a time for each individual little recipe.
And what would be some other things that you would put it in?
Well, really, like what I've put it in, like any sort of stew, like a ragu. It's a flavor, it's what you would do in Italian cooking. It's a flavor base. Like what is, you know, even risotto you could use it in. That's why we're not going to cook this very dark, so that, you know, you could just throw this in like in a risotto. And you can always cook it down darker later after the fact, once it's done, so that you start out with it being very nice and blonde. And then if you want something really deep and rich, you can put it back on for a while to cook down some more, to caramelize more before putting it in your dish. Let me check this here. And so we're gonna come back to this once this is cooked down a bit. It's gonna take, well, we'll time it. It's about, so I'm gonna guess about 20 minutes or so to fully reduce, but we'll see. Don't have to stand over it the whole time until it gets much more cooked down, because there's so much moisture in here. It's just gonna steam off and reduce for quite a while and not have to worry about burning.
So for that 20 minutes, you're not going to come back and stir it at all?
Well, I mean, I'll come back. I'll come back and look at it, see how it's going, but I'm not going to stand here the entire time stirring it.
How frequently would you say you have to
I'll just probably
re-stir it?
come back like every 3 or 4 minutes, just take a look at it, stir it around a bit.
Okay.
And just let it go.
Because I would have waited like 10 minutes and then it would have been burnt.
No, it probably would. If 10 minutes probably most likely would not burn it, but it would not be cooked quite as evenly on top. You might have to cook it longer, but like I said, there's enough moisture in here. It's going to take a while for it to burn. But there's a lot of sugar in here too, with the carrots and all the vegetables, so you know it will burn eventually.
Okay.
So, all right, we'll be back in a few minutes. So just come back in. It's been about 15 minutes. It's cooked down a fair bit, but still has a ways to go. When I suggested 20 minutes, it's probably more like if this was half this much. So this is going to probably be closer to 35, 40 minutes to get to where we want it at. So we will come back then. All right, it's been about 35 minutes. This is pretty much cooked as much as we want it right now. You can see it's like nicely blonde brown, but it's not too dark. Everything's pretty well cooked through. Some of the carrots are a little firmer than others because we chopped them up with a food processor instead of by hand, which is for putting in like any sort of stew. That's perfectly fine. I mean, it's all going to dissolve down anyways. If you really wanted something that, if it was really recipe really needed it to be super even, you just want to cook a small batch by hand. But this is very good. And then what I'll usually do if I make a batch this big or bigger is just freeze it, and then you can just throw it in your recipe without having to bother with the cooking time for this. So it saves a lot of time and effort. That's about a half cup right there. I usually freeze half a cup to a cup at a time, and it's all ready for you to use. There we go. And we'll be using that actually tomorrow in our episode on coq au vin. Until then, have fun.